hand it over to you.
Okay.
So students and visitors and parents, I saw one parent looks like, welcome to the program. I'm glad you guys joined. And we do conduct this type of program all the time, and we have this meetup site you might have seen already. I'm just going to post a link for future events. You can visit. I'm going to put it in the chat. So most events are open to all, and I reach out to our students all the time, and professionals, and come and give a speech all the time. So particularly recent alumni. So I have, whenever I reach alumni, recently graduated or before graduated a few years ago, their response kind of really varies. One alumni I remember asked, hey, can you just join and give you a speech to our current students? He looked at me and said, everything is in the web, then what is there to talk about? Okay, that's a very interesting response. So then another alumni said once, okay, what do you, usual response is, hey, okay, what do you want me to talk about? And that's usually the response, just okay. And I give you a technical topic or something, I tell them that, cover some technical topic, and additionally just give them some general advice. If you give just general advice, nobody will come. People want always technical, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of bringing animal to some interesting thing, you have to show food, it's a kind of something like that, I guess, interesting food. So then here we are, I asked Ananya some, I don't know how I think I found Ananya's article somewhere in the web, right?
Yeah.
So looked interesting. I reached out to her and, hey, can I give you a talk? She said immediately, sure. And nobody has in the past has generated video about their talk, so Ananya is very different, so usually only business people do it,
That's very kind of you to say.
So she went all excited and she created the video. I hope many of you have seen that video trailer, if not, you can look at it later. So anyway, here we are. Ananya is very thrilled to give this talk, so we encourage it in Indian students also. That's why this time. And thanks again, Ananya, for coming forward to give this talk. I am also excited, and if I don't stay too long, I'll go back and later watch the recording. Okay?
No, not at all. Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. It does mean a lot, trust me.
Thank you so much, and take over, and you can. Floor is yours. Virtual floor is yours.
Let me quickly. Okay, let me quickly share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, so hello everyone. I am Ananya Banerjee, and I am a fall 2020 graduate from UT Dallas. I'm a BITS alumni as well, and I am incoming software engineer 2 at eBay. And a very good evening to everybody who is joining from Americas and Canada. And a very good morning to everybody who is joining from the Asian subcontinent, including India. I really hope this entire talk helps you. This is how we're going to proceed. 45 minutes, I'm going to take you through the contents of the talk. And last 15 minutes or 10 minutes, we can keep for Q&A. So before we begin.
Or then you can keep going as long as it takes. Doesn't matter. We don't have any time limit.
Okay, no
unless
issues.
you have some time limit.
No problem at all.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so when sir approached me for the talk, I realized that there's a lot of scope for undergrads and grads understanding how to optimize their grad potential. So I started thinking of making a channel. So I have created a new channel called Ananya's Cosmos. You can go into the link. The link is also present in the chat box that you see, and you can subscribe to it. I'll be posting the recorded video of this lecture, as well as the slides and a lot of other videos which are going to be pretty interesting for undergrads and grads, right from varying from choosing how you choose your how you understand your calling, how do you place yourself uniquely, how do you establish a brand image, and all those exciting things. And this is my LinkedIn. Even after the talk, if you want to interact with me, please feel free to contact me on LinkedIn, message me, connect me, just shoot me a message. So let's begin. So this is the roadmap to the talk. I'm going to be starting, firstly, I'll be talking about how do you choose between industry and academia. Then I'm going to be talking about some undergrad tricks that you can use if you're an undergrad. Then I'll be going over the grad tricks. Afterwards, I'll be talking about general and specific job tips that I used, and some technologies that you must master in order to, get a good job, irrespective of the country. And finally, my strategy, my timeline, some exciting opportunities in terms of fellowships, competitions, challenges. So let's begin. So the first question that comes to my mind when I think about, using my maximum potential in undergrad or grad is, how do I embrace my uniqueness? So before I tell you any tricks or before I tell you how to make decisions, it's important for you to know, how do you become unique and embrace your uniqueness? So the things that I personally found is, first, you should always motivate yourself. Self motivation is something that goes a very, very long way, trust me, in making you whoever you want to achieve at the end of the line. Because there are a lot of problems that happens with everybody. All of us are sad at one point and extremely depressed at some other points. But it is extremely important to have a goal and keep working towards it by constantly motivating ourselves. The second most the second most important thing that I realized is that you must get rid of I can't. So you look at an exciting problem, but then you're like, oh my god, that's so like that's so difficult, I cannot absolutely do that. So that is, I feel, a very wrong attitude. Even if you have a problem, the questions you should be asking yourself is, if I do not know something, then how do I earn the knowledge, or how do I earn the experience to understand it completely? Never ever say I cannot do something. Third is, set your goals. As early as you set your goals, you can have a much better experience throughout. If you set your goals early, you'll have a much bigger advantage, as opposed to people who don't have no goals and do not know what they want to achieve in their lives. That being said, it is completely okay if you do not know what you want to do. I hope that after the presentation, I'm going to be touching on points as to how do you recognize your calling, and if it helps, then please do let me know. The fourth most important thing is, always, and I cannot stress this enough, always have a strategy. If you have goals but no strategy, trust me, it sounds a little harsh, but you're not going to go there. Having a strategy is extremely important. The fifth and sixth points are as important while you're making the strategy. That is, you must identify your strengths. You must identify what is the one thing that makes you you. It could be something as small as having amazing communication skills, to playing guitar, or maybe having being amazing in animation, gaming. It could be anything. Just understanding what your strengths helps you leverage them. You know what I mean? And resolving your weaknesses is, all of us have limitations, right? For example, sometimes people think that they get angry easily. In that case, go look out for a counselor. Try and see how you can overcome your weaknesses, because trust me, the personal weaknesses will in one way or other reflect your career path. So the earlier you identify them and try and go around a way of resolving them, the better your career is going to be. And seventh is like the most important point ever: always evolve. Because you are a person, right? So as we go along, depending upon the kind of opportunities that you have, the circumstances you face, and the obstacles and the failures that you overcome, you evolve. You constantly become a different version of yourself, and it is important to self reflect and understand this. So trust me, if you do these 7 things, you are already unique. You just need to embrace it and always move towards a goal, form a strategy, identify what your strengths are going to be, and understand your weaknesses and try and find a way around them, and be always self-motivating and never say you cannot do something. So once we are established that we must embrace our uniqueness, let's get into some technical stuff. Okay, so how do I choose between industry and academia? So if you're someone who is an undergrad or even a grad, one of the things that everybody faces at one or other point in their career is, should I go for an industry job, or maybe should I go for academia? So what I personally believe is, there are several factors that are involved while making this decision. 4 of which one of the most important factors I'll be talking about today. So you need to ask yourself, do you enjoy research? So if you are the kind of person who enjoys research, who enjoys, understanding different things and then trying to find new ways of and new ways to develop something, then research might be something which is your calling. And on one hand, though, industry and academia both do have research, but you have to understand that industry-based research is almost always specific to a company and what profits the company can make from this. On the other hand, in academia, research is pretty open-ended. So it will be more focused on, you can find a professor, you can find a mentor who works in a similar area, and you can definitely kind of like, ask them that, hey, Prof, I'm interested in working with you. Will you give me a chance? And that gives you a starting point to see if you are the kind of person who will enjoy research. So that's one. Second is work-life balance. See, all of us imagine that, we have these 9 to 5 jobs, and then the rest of the time we can spend with our families with no tension, no anxiety, etc. So work-life balance on an average is much, much better in academia as opposed to industry. So there's because, I'm not saying that industry is so hectic that you do not have work-life balance. Definitely, there are amazing companies like eBay, Google, Facebook, which do offer very great, awesome work-life balance. But then, you have to look at average. You have to look on an average. Work-life balance in industry is much, much harder to understand and deal with. Third is everything that you do in life should be about your future growth. What do you see yourself doing 5 years or 10 years down the line is how you should make your decisions. It's not just about what you want to do tomorrow or maybe a year from now. It's about what you see yourself doing down the line. Is being professor your calling? Is teaching someone and using impressionable minds to like mold them into the better version of themselves something that you do enjoy? Then perfect. Academia might be something that's made for you. But if it is the case that you want to look at different other aspects before industry, like something from industry, like front end, back end, machine learning, etc., if those are kind of engineering problems, strictly speaking from an engineer point of view, because I'm one, if that is something that speaks to you, then go for industry. Last but not the least is money restrictions. See, we are all from middle class or lower income families, so we do understand that even if we don't want our parents to have that kind of burden, right? So you have to understand at what point in your time, what amount of money do you want to invest in yourself, whether it's for undergrad or whether it's for grad, and how much will it pay off? Will doing a master's or a PhD now help you get better prospects in the future? Definitely, it will. But do you have the money and the time and the kind of, other restrictions, personal restrictions that vary from person to person, and will that affect your final decision? You have to ask yourself all these questions in order to be absolutely sure that whether industry or academia is your end game. So this is just like questions that you can ask yourself. What do you like doing? Do you like research? What speaks to you? What are your goals? What you can or cannot handle? And these are the kind of questions which will ultimately determine whether industry or academia is something that you see yourself doing. Okay, so let's move over to tips. So let's begin with
I'm going to stop right there. Are you joining from a web or are you joining from the team application?
The web.
Oh, okay. That's why I think when you turned on the presentation, it automatically video became off. That's okay. That's the restriction of the web version. So that's okay. Don't worry about it. Can you click on the bottom hide in that Teams thing? Yeah, just say hide. Yeah, you can go back to presentation. That's fine. You can always turn on the video once the presentation ends.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay. So no problem. So, okay. So we are looking at the undergrad trips now. So the first rule of being an undergrad is explore everything that you find around you. And I cannot stress this enough, explore away to your heart's content. Even if you're a mechanical engineering student and you want to do something in civil, computer science, just try and take different courses, try and find different projects, whether it is with professors who are working in similar areas or whether it is with your peers, with your friends, with, with your partners, anybody that wants to work in the area that you want to work in, collaborate. Because, collaboration is one thing that is going to open up your horizons in ways that you might not understand now. But trust me on this, it's going to be a humongous help. Secondly, you should find internships because, for example, say you did a project with a professor or on a class project and you realize that, let's say, machine learning is your calling. But how do you know how it works in the real world? So try and think about doing internships, both in kind of like renowned research labs, working with the kind of people that you see yourself working with a few years down the line, and industry. For example, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all of them has research-based internships as well, including eBay. So explore those. Second is you should always be on the lookout for scholarships and fellowships. Both are exactly synonymous, so as to say. Sometimes institute itself, like BITS Pilani and UTD, are one of the most popular universities across the globe who do give a lot of good fellowships that I will be talking about a few slides down the line. And you should always be also on the lookout for external scholarships, some of which I've mentioned here as well. And also, the last thing that you must be looking for is challenges, competitions. Challenges that industry gives, or the kind of competitions that academia or industry gives you a kind of experience looking at real world problems. The kind of problems that companies work with and may or may not be able to solve at the moment are the kind of problems, open-ended problems, that the companies give in challenges, to see if anyone around the world can think of a unique solution to the problem and maybe help them out. So those are the kind of things that you should definitely participate in, and they give you a tremendous amount of exposure. Second is, as I said, I cannot stress this enough, make a plan. If you have explored initially and you realize that this is something you do like doing, then try and make a plan around it. Try and see that, I'll do an internship in this area and then maybe a project with this professor or something else with, another component, and try and mix them up and make sure you have a plan towards what you want to do in life. Third is be creative. Being creative is extremely important because a lot of people are trying to place themselves uniquely in the world. So what makes you unique? That is why I started off with how do you embrace your uniqueness, and a huge part of embracing your uniqueness is being creative. So you understand what makes you, how can you present content the way that is, one, true to you, and two, it's so unique in its way that everybody wants to look at it and everybody wants to experience that as well with you. So that is something that will make you unique, and as well as help establish a brand image for you. And third is network like crazy, guys, because whether you're an undergrad or a grad, networking is extremely paramount to not just getting jobs but also open up your horizons. Because when you talk to people who come from a different background than you, a different country than you, a different tradition than you, then they give you different perspectives that you may or may not get from only people that you are always hanging around with. So try to talk to people, try to go to professional meets, events, workshops, professional kind of anything that you can find around you, visit it. Because trust me, it's going to help you broaden your horizons and look at world in a very totally new and different way. So these are the tips for undergrad. So let's look at the tips specific for grad school. See, what happens is once we have done undergrad, we more or less have at least, I'm not saying you'll have very specific goals, but let's say you'll at least have a tentative idea so as to what you enjoy, right? Since if you follow the tips that I've given for undergrad, you'll at least have, because you had a plan and you did a couple of internships, you did a couple of projects, thesis, etc. It will give you a very good idea about what you want to do in life, at least tentatively. So once you have that, there are two things that you want to do. I started off with saying research versus academia, right? Sorry, I'm my bad. I mean industry versus academia, right? So if you are someone who wants to work in research in academia, then something like doing a thesis, trying to publish articles, writing Medium articles, etc., on topics that excite you, but at the same time might confuse other people, like specialized topics, etc., is a very, very good strategy to start. Because find a professor that you think works in the area that you like, try and talk to them, do a couple of courses under them, try convince them and see if they want to work with you. If you have an idea, that's amazing. But even if you do not have an idea, what's stopping you from talking to a professor and saying, hey prof, so this is something that I really wanted to work in, and you look at the kind of research papers and the research the professor has conducted, and you see if that interests you. And if it does, then it's an amazing opportunity for you which you'll not get anywhere else, because you're open. That gives you an avenue to do any kind of research, in as long as it's specific to the the area and or the domain the professor works in. So that's an amazing opportunity. If your aim is not research specifically, but if your aim is getting a job, that's completely fine. But the first and most important thing that you need to do if you want a job at the end of your grad school is you have to become a problem solver. I'll also be going over exactly what you need to do, so bear with me for now. Keep this in mind. As long as you become an excellent problem solver, no one can stop you from getting an amazing job. Trust me. Third is always be proactive. Whether you are in grad school or you are in undergrad, keep on the lookout for all kinds of opportunities. problem. I'm so sorry, everyone. There was some technical issue, but let's dive right into what I was speaking before. So, tip number 3 for graduate students is be always on the lookout for different opportunities. So, you should always be looking at, the kind of challenges, the kind of competitions, the kind of fellowships, projects, etc., which is available, around you. Go look at, the campus bulletins. Go look at, follow people on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn who work in the areas that you want to like work in few years down the line, and that is something that will give you the kind of awareness that is extremely important when you are either an undergrad or a grad student. The fourth tip would be, as I already said, network like crazy. Because trust me, I cannot stress this enough. Whether you're an undergrad or a grad, networking with people, establishing meaningful connections is something that is extremely paramount, not just in United States, but in India, Canada, everywhere around the globe. If you make meaningful connections, so let me give you like, an example of what happens. So, for example, if there is like an amazing job opportunity at Google, and you know a person who works at the team and you have worked with him or talked to him at an event or something, and that person has a good rapport with you, or he or she knows that you are excellent at that particular aspect. So you know what will happen, that person might just ping you and say, hey, so this position just opened up, so do you think you're interested in interviewing with it, because I know you're amazing in this. So see what this gives you unseen opportunities that you might not get otherwise, right? So, networking is something which is extremely important, and try and make meaningful connections. By networking, I do not absolutely mean just connect with people on LinkedIn. I mean have actual conversations. Whether you're messaging people or whether you're talking to them in person in events, try and talk to them, connect with them, find that one unique connection. It could be something as unique as, liking biryani, or, have a favorite food, or it could be as amazing as, a new amazing collaboration project that you guys can combine your ideas with and work on. So this is extremely important. Okay, so now get over to the good job category. And I know that because of COVID, it is extremely important aspect, and people have been, losing jobs, and getting a job is extremely difficult nowadays. So let's just dive into it. So what gets me a good job in the end? So this GROP ready packaged meal is specific to computer science students, though the last 3 points might not be. So bear with me. First, as I said before, be an excellent problem solver. The more problems you solve, the better and better you get in analyzing the ins and outs of the problem, understanding what the problem demands, understanding what might not be so obvious when you look at a problem. So those are the kind of features, those are the kind of abilities that any recruiter will be looking for. Second is be extremely good in data structures and algorithms. You know why I say this is because, whenever you are given a problem, the first thing and the most valuable commodity in today's world is data, right? So the most important questions that every problem demands from you is, how do you store that data? What are the kind of data structures which will optimize your time and space complexities? So these are the kind of things that actually, make you as a standout candidate, as opposed to someone who might not have in-depth analysis or ideas about data structures. Third, algorithms. Once you have the data structures, what kind of algorithms can you use which might just end up optimizing your entire thing, right? So even if you come up with a unique algorithm in interview, it's amazing. Trust me, it's all amazing if you do manage to do that. But let's assume that because interviews are usually high stress environments, and you cannot come up with a new algorithm just in the space of 45 or 1 hour. In that case, knowing several different algorithms, understanding how you can solve this problem may just, help you at least get a starting point, and you can take it, try optimizing it in stages, your entire solution. And programming. When I say programming is not just problem solving. By programming, I mean understand how a programming language works. Understand what is garbage collection, understand what happens in the back end when you write a simple int x is equal to 2. Once you understand this, trust me, if you understand what happens, why it happens, what happens if I write this, why don't we write something else, understand the syntax, understand the reason behind the syntax, then no matter how many cross questions you see in an interview, you're not going to fail, because a good and a solid base can never, makes good structures. So that is something that's extremely important. Fourth, I mean, it's fifth is something that's, it sounds very blaze, but trust me, having a positive attitude and optimistic attitude, not just in an interview, but in your life as a whole, is also going to help you a lot. Trust me, it's going to help you a lot. And that is also something that the interviewers do ask. I will be going more specific into what do they want from you in the later slides as well. Just bear with me. So overall, the knowledge, what I'm talking about is not just problem solving, data structures, algorithms. When I say knowledge, I say domain knowledge. For example, you are giving, a natural language processing exam, right? Or you're looking for an AI job. In that case, your knowledge would not just be how certain things, what certain things are. Your knowledge would be the domain knowledge surrounding the entire concept of the problem. How does it work? Why does it not work? Why does something else works perfectly in this, and why will this not, is also as important. And your understanding, your reasoning is something that interviewers want to know, so your knowledge is paramount. And lastly, luck. Even if 99% you put everything, 1% we might have to give to luck, right? So a little bit of luck, but trust me, 99% of hard work is going to get you your dream job. So next question that everybody asks me is, what gets you a good job in the United States? And this is also true for India as well. So these are the 5 major things that I think are extremely crucial for the job market. One is knowledge of programming languages. Be advised that all of this job market scenario is specific to computer science and related domains. So if you're from mechanical engineering, civil, or any other concept, you can ping me up and I can definitely connect you with the right people who might be better mentors than me in that aspect. Okay, so for programming languages, things like Java, Python, C, C++, C Sharp, etc. are one of the most popular programming languages that almost every company uses in one way or other. So knowledge of about even one of them will help you transition between them pretty easily. So that is why they say if you know one, you know all, right? Only the syntax changes. Second is always be aware about the hottest technologies around you. Depending on the field that you want to work in, for example, if your aim is to be a database administrator, in that sense, be understanding databases like MySQL, SQL, Cassandra, etc., becomes paramount to you attaining your job, right? Similarly, if you're looking for a big data related job, things like parallel programming, multi-threading, Hadoop, Spark, etc., are extremely paramount. So always understand what your goal is,
Your goal is, and once you
and once you
and
understand that, try and find the hottest technologies that gets you there. Next is behavioral. So, even though data structures, everything is very important, behavior is something that companies do focus on. For example, Amazon is one of the companies that puts a lot of stress into behavioral. So even if you do not do very well on your technical, if your behavioral goes amazingly well, that Amazon will give you that job. That being said, this is my personal opinion. So please do not go to Amazon recruiter and say that Ananya told me this, and why are you not telling me this? Okay, anyway, so next is data structures and algorithms. For example, popular data structures like heaps, binary trees, priority queues, etc., and algorithms like sorting, searching, traversal, finding shortest path, and other very popular algorithms and structures that you must know if you want to do well in your interviews. And last but not the most, the most important thing, network. How good are you at making meaningful connections is going to be a huge factor in you getting a good job in the United States. Okay, so since we already went over what kind of things we want, okay, let's look at what do companies want. So since, I started my journey in September 2020 to look for a job, it has been, a huge and amazing process, but has been a long one. So let's look at what are the common things that I found in my interviews with people and companies that they wanted me to know. One, how well can you solve problems? So they are not going to give you very well-known problems always. They're going to be giving you something like, oh, so if you have to design an autocomplete system, how do you do that? And that is very, a very, very basic problem and very abstract as that. You have no idea how to go about doing it. And if you have no experience about the design related problems, you might not be able to. So how you solve problems, are you capable of thinking critically and analyzing it from every aspect and reasoning and, trying to reason through it is something that companies will definitely want from you. Second is, do you fit their culture? Because every company in the world has a certain culture, has a certain, company values that they strictly adhere to. So if you have integrity, if you're someone that, fits right into the kind of people that they would like to work in, your probability of getting a job at that company increases. Another thing that you must keep in mind, and I cannot stress this enough, is do you satisfy their minimum requirement? So every job description that you look for when you look at jobs on the company websites, on our sites like LinkedIn, gives you a minimum job description. So even though this is not a hard and fast rule, but unfortunately, what happens is when you submit your resume, automatic systems like ATS, etc., match your resume with those kind of, with the minimum qualifications. And if they do not meet because of some technical error, even that happens sometimes, then you will not, your resume will never get screened, and it will never reach a human being who might just look at your resume and say this person is amazing. But since the computerized system itself rejected you, you might just even never even end up going back to, actual person. So I will be doing a short video on that and posting it on my YouTube channel. So subscribe to that. I know I cannot like talk about everything in this itself. So bear with me. The next thing that is very important for companies is, are you willing to work hard? Because if, even by your attitude or even by the way you speak, the kind of work that you have done in the past, illustrate that you're a lazy person, then trust me, no company in the world will want to take you in. Because if you're a hard worker, if you have a plan, if you are strategic, if you know how to get to your end point, only then can you, companies would want to work with someone like you. And obviously, can you understand, analyze, and handle difficult situations is extremely important as well. Because they are going to tell you something as crazy as, so you had a problem with your coworker, how do you handle that? So there is no right way to answer this question. You can't just say that, I'll fight him or her. You cannot even say, because you will not, right? You're not the kind of person who will. But at the end of the day, you have to showcase that you're professional. You understand that, certain people might be having just a bad day, and it is not just about, the present if at the moment. So you have to showcase how do you handle these situations smartly as an individual, and smartly as a part of the company, as a part of the chain, as the part of the culture itself. And the most important thing about after all of this is, are you capable of coming up with unique ideas? So unique ideas is something that I know it's very difficult when you're looking at it from a interview perspective. But when I said, like I said before, what happens is when I interview, if you're very good at problem solving, so at least the basic naive approach you will be able to come with. So what happens is, if you are given a problem, right, in an interview, and then you start, speaking on different things. So a average or below average interviewee will just give you a very nice solution. A medium or an average person, or maybe a little bit more than that, will give you a little bit more optimized version than that. But an excellent candidate who stands out no matter what is the kind of candidate that comes up with something extremely unique and tries to give you that perspective in that. That being said, do not stress on finding unique ideas. Even if you do show them that you're capable of reasoning through different steps, and you're capable of thinking a little differently, that works as well. You don't have to panic. And I'll also be going through about how do you prepare, etc. in this one. So just bear with me, okay? Next. So how did I prepare? Okay, so I started my journey a couple of months ago, but let's just give you usually what people do is they start a year or two before. So for example, if you're in your second year and you graduate in your fourth year, then that might be ideal time for you to start working on your coding skills, etc. Because that gives you a lot of time to work on and hone your skills and take part in challenges, etc., which is an amazing opportunity for you to, put yourself under stressful situations and try and code within a certain amount of time. So that being said, I'm assuming that you have 3 months to your interview day and you want to like get a job soon. So 3 to 2 months before your interview day, you should start exploring, like find a coding platform to begin with. It could be something like Lead Code, HackerRank, or any other platform that you're comfortable with, like CodeChef, Codeforces. Start coding, pick a programming language, and start. Okay. Next is, once you are at least done it for at least 2 months, you are in the right position to identify your problem points. For example, a couple of people that I have met personally struggle with binary trees. Others struggle with dynamic programming, or maybe recursion is something that makes you go crazy. So identify what your problem is and try and do problems which, help you understand how and why this happens. Ask yourself the right questions and be extremely curious. Keep asking yourself questions until unless you're 100% sure that you understand the problem well. Because remember, in an interview, they are not just going to ask you to give a solution. They are going to ask you, how did you come up with this solution? Why this solution and why not something else? So if your understanding is not proper, you're not going to be able to answer that question, right? So, okay, so let's move on. So 1 to 2 weeks before the interview, try and do company specific research. So when I say company specific research, I just don't mean the problems itself. So there are a lot of people who anonymously, etc., even though it's not technically ethical, but you will still find a lot of people sharing their personal interview experiences of a certain company within, let's say, 6 months, like Glassdoor, it's on Glassdoor, etc. You can explore them and see what kind of questions they were asked. Also, you can do company specific coding problems on things like lead code, hackerrank, etc., which might help you, get a feel of what basic pattern the company wants from you and the kind of problems that they constantly keep asking. And last, on the interview day, guys, be ready, but eat the day before, sleep, have at least 7 hours of sleep so that you don't look like, dress properly and just be yourself. Because if you put so much effort into, getting this, I'm sure that you will do well. So after this, the last question is, what was my strategy when I wanted to do this? So it will sound a little basic, and I'll also go over the timeline with you guys as well, so that you have a better idea. But what I did was I started in September, and I started to like outline and identify my issues. So what do I want at the end of the road? So I wanted a job, and what are the kind of barriers that I faced? So I was not as good as coding before, and problem solving was something that I wanted to become a good wanted to become good at, but unfortunately, because of some other reasons, I was experimenting with different things, and I did not have time to focus on that aspect. So I identified what the problem was, and then I started making definitive objectives. So I said that, okay, I want this job, so now what do I have to go do it, how do I have to evolve as a person in order to get it? So I made like smaller objectives. Okay, so binary trees, this, these are the kind of things that I should focus on. And I started working towards it proactively. Third is generate ideas. Go wild, You don't have to blindly follow what everybody else has already been doing. What you need to do is think about creative solutions. So what is that one creative, you never know when you come up with something like, let me give you an example. For example, you think that something is very difficult. So you write a blog about it. That's what I did. Or maybe someone made an app of it, that there are flashcards and they tell you different aspects of a problem. Or maybe somebody went even one step ahead or made a game out of it. So just understand the kind of any problem can be solved with creativity. Once you put your uniqueness into it, this results are amazing, trust me. Next is make a plan. So you analyze every component of your problem carefully, you come up with solutions, and you write it in a detailed way. When I say detailed, it might not be 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm going to do this. It could be something as basic as, in 1 month, I want to accomplish this. In 1 week, I want to accomplish this. So it totally depends on you. The entire thing is mold everything to your personality, your working regime. Everything has to be you, right? And last, network. So try to find the right mentors that are going to help you become the kind of person that you want yourself to be. The peers, like-minded people. Or also talk to people who are completely different from you, because that gives you, a different perspective about things. So this was the kind of thing that I personally did. So let's go over my timeline. So I started in September when I started choosing my platforms and, completely started applying for different kinds of jobs. So I chose lead code to begin with. And I wanted to I chose lead code primarily because it allowed me to, filter by easy, medium, hard questions. It also allowed me to work on different kinds of problems specific to, let's say, binary trees, recursion, etc., which, I struggled with a little bit in the beginning. Second, in October, since I had been working for a month, I understood that these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses, and I tried practicing problems in that area specifically. And this is kind of like, one of the most discouraging times of my life, because, when you know for a fact you're not good at something, but then you put your mind, heart, and effort into it to one day become, the best you can be at it. It sounds, and it is a frustrating process, but it is extremely rewarding. Trust me, been there, done that. So I made a detailed strategy. Next, around November, I constantly practiced areas which were my limitations. So even till November, I started getting a little better, but there were still points of areas which I knew for a fact, if I was cross-questioned, I might not be able to, hold true. So I started practicing more and more on those limitations. Around December, my strategy evolved a little bit, because by now I was confident that I can solve problems pretty in a unique way, and I can come up with solutions on the spot. So I wanted to start working on design problems. So what design problems are is, as I said before, you are asked to design, let's say, a news feed system, or maybe a chatbot, or maybe something else, right? So when you just listen to this question, ki design an autocomplete system, what comes to you? excuse me, what comes to your mind? Like there could be so many aspects to it. How do you share data? What server do you use? What databases do you use? So these are the kind of design problems that opens up your horizons. You try and start looking at the entire problem from a lot different perspective than you would have done if you were simply given a problem and asked to code for it. So that made me a better programmer, and I stand true by it. It did, trust me. Next is I started doing company specific problems around January, because January first week I got a call back from a couple of companies. So I'm only going to name eBay because eBay is something that I finally ended up accepting. I don't think it's ethical to share other companies, but yeah. So I did problems from different companies and tried and company specific problems to get a feel of what constantly a certain company wants from me as a candidate. And around February, I was given my final offer. So okay, so now that I'm done talking about myself, and I know guys must be a little irked by that, but trust me, I only shared with you because I felt that if I shared what problems I had and the kind of timeline I followed, then it might just end up motivating you and helping you see how you can become the best version of yourself as well, or at least try and evolve to your next version. So let's look at what are the kind of opportunities that you can take advantage of. So let me first begin while talking about women-centric opportunities. So there's Grace Hopper Conference that is organized every year in both India and United States. So if you live in Asian subcontinent or if you live in Americas, definitely apply for that. You're eligible. So there are scholarships available, and it's an amazing event where you meet so many different people. A lot of companies come. You try and interact with people. You try, networking for networking. It's a golden opportunity, and do not miss out on it. Second is Adobe Women in Technology. So Adobe has these two scholarships and fellowships that they do offer. One is Women in Technology and one is Women in Research. Both of them are amazing opportunities for both students, undergrad and grad, and women entrepreneurs and women individuals who are working in industry and academia. So that is also a very amazing opportunity. Third is Women in Machine Learning is a Google group that has, amazing job opportunities, work that organizes workshops, and a group. It is a specific group for women who work in machine learning, and again, it is an extremely good networking opportunity for you. Fourth will be ACM for Women in Computing. So ACM has this specific chapter for women in computing where there are a lot of scholarships available, including both tuition based that might help you pay your tuition, as we say in United States. In India, it's just your fees. So yeah, so both tuition based and other scholarships or fellowships that might help you end up getting good internships. Again, they post a lot of jobs that are available. They do a lot of panel discussions. They do a lot of workshops that might give you insight into what you want to do. So try and join, try and be a part of these things. It's amazing. Fifth is Society for Women Engineers. So SWE also has a lot of networking events. Subscribe to their newsletter, scholarships, etc., which you can take advantage of. So please, 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 I cannot stress this enough. If you have women who wants to do well, try and look at least all of these. I'll also be talking about others, but let's get back to that. Okay, so let's also slightly talk about opportunities specific to UT Dallas. So UT Dallas, I feel, has an amazing, amazing entrepreneurship mindset. So it has competitions like the Big Idea competition, UT Design Startup Challenge, which offers $20,000 investment to entrepreneur who pitches their ideas and who design they like. Then there are Comet X and Galax accelerator programs. That kind of, these are kind of programs that entrepreneurs or even budding entrepreneurs want to be a part of, because they tell you how to ideate, how to form a business plan, and other things related to that. Next is student pitch competition. So UTD has a lot of student pitch competitions where you can pitch an idea and get investment from it, or even get some kind of reward or cash prizes from it. Second, entrepreneurship awards. So UT Dallas regularly chooses alumni, faculty, and current students who are doing exceptional entrepreneurship work and awards them and gives them those kind of opportunities. Last but not the least is UT Dallas Women Summit. So this is the kind of summit where a lot of women all across Dallas and from other parts of United States come together and try and talk about different things. There are panels, there are discussions, there are workshops. So that is also another great opportunity for networking. Lastly, Innovate Her is specific to mid school and high school students, and it is an opportunity for them to get a feel of how entrepreneurship feels like by pitching different designs. So yeah, so these are the kind of opportunities. These are just some of the opportunities that I know about in UT Dallas and are amazing. Okay, so what about fellowships, right? Because I have been going on and on about scholarships. So let me also talk about five of the most popular scholarships around the globe. First will be Google's Anita Borg Memorial Scholarship. So Google is one of the companies in the world that has a lot of amazing scholarships. So do check out the scholarships at google.com website. It has a lot of scholarships, including Google Generation Scholarship, Google Step Internship, etc. Do check them out and apply, because if you don't apply, how do you know whether you'll get it or not, right? Next is Data Science for Social Good Fellowship. So this was a combined initiative from University of Chicago as well as CMU, and they try and offer you, summer in the 3-month based internships where you get to meet, where you can be a mentor, you can be a mentee, you can also be a collaborator, and you can work on different real world problems that plague the world and come up with unique solutions. So it's an amazing opportunity that you should definitely apply for. Third is Stanford Knight Hennessy Scholarship. So if Stanford is somewhere that you see yourself doing higher studies in, then Stanford offers Knight Hennessy Scholarship for master's and graduate students in computer science. And it also offers other scholarships in other disciplines. So do check out their website and try and see if you're eligible. And it's an amazing opportunity. It's 100% funded. And you also have other benefits out of it. They also pay your living expenses, etc., for the amount of time that you study in Stanford. Then the two other scholarships that are amazing are Rhodes Scholarship by Oxford University and Bill Melinda Gates Fellowship. So do check out these fellowships, try and see if you're eligible. And if you're not, then bookmark them and make sure you don't miss out on these opportunities. So since I've been talking about scholarships, fellowships, why not tell you a little bit about the challenges and kind of competitions that you can take part in as well? So these are, I mean, 6 or 7 of the most well-known challenges that I know of. So Google, as I said earlier, had a lot of opportunities for students, whether you're undergrad, grad, or postgrad. So Google Tech Challenge is one of the most popular challenges that you can be a part of. Google it, try and see the deadlines. Always be very careful about the deadlines. Then Yelp is another company that has a data challenge. So what this challenge is about is they are going to be giving you a data set of pictures, and there are different kinds of data that they do collect on a daily basis, anonymized, obviously. And once they get that data to you, they want you to come up with unique, computer vision or NLP kind of problems and try and find. It's an open challenge, so you can go crazy and publish papers from that data set as well. And they also give you cash prizes. I think $45,000. Sorry, my bad. $25,000 or something as first, second, and third prize. So do check it out. Prize is secondary. The most important thing is the experience that you get when you work on these kind of things. Third is MIT Solve Challenge. So MIT Solve Challenge is an amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in the world. So MIT Solve Challenge allows a group of people, whether you are working as a company or whether you're working as a team from a university, you can work on real open-ended world problems that are plaguing the world today. And they give you the kind of funding, the kind of basis, etc., and the pitch areas where you can find investors, etc., for your thing. So do check that out. Similar to this is Cisco's Global Solver Challenge. So this is also where they give you a problem and you have to come up with unique solutions to that. Next is Facebook's Data Challenge, which is pretty similar to Yelp's challenge. And last but not the least is Microsoft Student Program Event. So if you become a student, Microsoft student partner, so you are the kind of point of contact between your university and Microsoft, and you organize events and internships, create those kind of opportunities and be go between the company and the university, which is an amazing opportunity for you to kind of get the feel of what it takes to be a part of Microsoft, and the kind of networking opportunities that you get out of it. So these, and again, I'm kind of transparent enough, these are just few of the competitions and challenges. I will be posting a video detailed on every challenge and competition that I've heard about. So do check out, subscribe to my channel and check it out. So I guess that's it for today. That's it for my presentation. This is the link to my feedback form that I've also submitted. If you scroll up in the channel, if you liked, or if you had any comments, or if you know the kind of content that you want me to talk about, you can definitely go to this form. It's completely anonymized. You do not have to share your name at all. And I would really appreciate if you give me your feedback. And let's begin the round of questions. So let me quickly, just give me a second. Let me quickly stop sharing so I can talk to you. Okay, so video isn't supported in this. So please feel free to ask me any questions that you want me to, answer. Hello?
Hello. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I learned a lot of important tips. So, uh, just have a question. So, like, you mentioned that networking, you stressed that like networking is really important for when it comes to finding opportunities
Mm-hmm.
industry. So, I would just like to know um, how do you start the networking process? Like, I would just yes, that's what I would like to know. Like, what's the exact process for like establishing like meaningful communication with people working in the industry?
Okay, so I personally believe that the best way to communicate is when you communicate with people personally, one to one. So if you look at the kind of conferences or the kind of summits that's happening around you in the same city, you can try going to them and understand that. I'm sorry, my big space acting up here. So yeah, so you can try going to that area, and you can see that if you meet the kind of people, just go about introducing yourself and talk about what you like, who you are, and they'll introduce themselves back. So that is one place, but I know because of COVID, networking is a huge challenge. So you can also try, if you, for example, like my video, right? So if you like my talk, you can definitely, or if you like the article that I write on Medium, if you want to make me answer to your message, the best way for you to go about doing it is, instead of cold messaging me, if you write that you read my article and this is something that these are your thoughts on it, that pikes my interest, and as soon as my interest is spiked, I'll immediately reply. So that is just one small example of how you can entice people to reply to you and get that momentum going and get that conversation started. But definitely, that being said, in person networking through different events, conferences, summits, workshops, etc., is something that should be that should be on the top of your to-do list. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yes.
Ananya, how about turning on the video? Now that
Um,
presentation is over, see whether you can turn on your video.
it doesn't allow me for
Oh,
because I
is
switched
it?
the
Oh boy.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. No, that's okay. Surprised. Are you still sharing your screen though? No,
Now
right?
I stopped sharing,
Okay. Okay.
so it
Okay.
doesn't
No
kind of
problem.
like. Okay, so does anybody else have any questions?
You all took the time to come here. There should be more questions.
No, it's okay if you do not have any questions, or if you cannot think about any questions at the moment, it's completely fine. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my channel, you can comment, you can kind of like, message me on LinkedIn, and I'll definitely try and answer as many questions as I can. But if you want to me to answer any question now, please feel free to speak up.
Let's see. So, since others are not asking questions. So one question I have
Hi.
is, yeah,
Hello.
go ahead. Somebody is asking. Go ahead, Sid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to ask one thing about networking.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I have observed for like personally for in my case is
Mm-hmm.
when to stop networking. As in, I start networking. So I'm from a different branch, but I start networking, and the thing that I experienced was that I never stopped. As in, I constantly search for opportunities and leave the opportunities that I have that I have currently have in focus, or even if I get opportunities, I'm waiting for that ultimate opportunity and continue that process of like contacting people. For example, say I'm going to 10 colleges.
Mm-hmm.
I should be focusing on the colleges that I'm going to rather than straightforward going thinking of colleges that now that I have selected colleges and I have not begun my master's, I'm straight away thinking of the colleges that I'm doing PhD about. So
Mhm.
this, like, how do I find the balance? Because I don't want to lose opportunities as well, but I want to also focus on the opportunities that I have currently in my control.
Okay. Let me see if I got your question right. So, are you trying to ask me that how do you find a balance into kind of leveraging your current opportunities, but also making sure that you're proactive enough to get future opportunities? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, yes. Like, how do I judge beforehand? Our ambitions will be always high, right? Ki, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if currently some job is paying me XYZ amount,
Mm-hmm.
if I'll be looking for XYZ plus one, and
Mm-hmm.
that would be a better opportunity. But like, I should be proactive enough to grasp that opportunity and not settle too low. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I should be focusing on the opportunities that I have in hand. Like, you get the idea? Yes, that is
No,
the
no,
question.
I see what you mean. Please do correct me if I am understanding anything wrong. But according to me, usually what I personally do in such circumstances is I prioritize, right? So, what is your priority at the moment? If you have already joined a university and you're also looking for universities in for your future, then I think it's a good strategy. But the thing that you should be focusing on is striving a balance. Maybe spend like an 15 to 20 minutes looking at other universities, because that's little, let's assume that it's 3 4 years down the line after you have completed your bachelor's, and till then you kind of look at opportunities that you can do now. Because trust me, sometimes what happens is, because we are so focused on what we are going to do in the future, we kind of lose out on opportunities that we could have leveraged now. So be so proactive that you can grasp opportunities that are happening. And definitely when you're choosing between different opportunities, even if they come between like within a space of a couple of months, sometimes it's all about priority. If you think that this is the kind of opportunity that is the best thing that you can get at one certain point, let's say you got an offer from Microsoft, right? But then later on, after a month of joining, you got another from Google. So are you asking me that should I go for Google or should I stay with Microsoft? Like a hypothetical situation, of course. Is that something
Yes,
that you are worried about?
yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, see, the one primary problem with this question is, I'm not judging you, definitely. All of us has been there. Is that once you have committed to a company, you should at least stay committed for a little while, if not for a longer period of time. Because you gave Microsoft your commitment, you said yes, and you joined it. So, as a job, if of course, I'm not talking about internships. If you're doing internship like a fall internship with the one company and a spring internship with another, it's completely fine. But if you're talking about job, you should at least stay a year to actually judge whether Microsoft is the best place for you. Because sometimes what happens is everything that looks gold may or may not be. You see what I mean? Because sometimes we always look for better opportunities, but how do you know it is better? It is not just about a different brand. It could also be that the kind of positions that you're getting with Microsoft is not something that you might be getting with Google. Or maybe the kind of people that you're working with here might not be the same kind of encouraging people in another place that you're going for. You see my point? So you have to analyze your situation based on a lot of things, the kind of expectations that you have presently, but it also definitely depends on the kind of people that you work with, the kind of culture, the kind of perks that you get, and the kind of projects that you want to work on. And that is the most important thing. Maybe this current company is giving you amazing project, right? So you're excited about them, but then you look for a company like Google, which everybody wants to be a part of. But then maybe you join Google and you realize that you're not getting the projects because it's so popular. There are so many people better than us there. That is always a question, right? I'm not, that being said, it's not always the case that you're going to get bad projects or anything in better companies. This is just a very small hypothetical example to like help you reason out which should be your dream place to work in and how do you kind of like strike a balance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes,
I-
yes.
If I can add something, welcome to modern reality, modern complexities of life. That's what these are the things we didn't face 30 years ago. Okay, there's not much information, not much coming at you. Now the information is coming from all direction that you have to deal with all this stuff. And a related note, one thing I can tell is many times I see your alumni. You
Mhm.
join a company, after that, they're working so busily that they even forget something called LinkedIn exists. I see all the time, and I look up our students who have graduated, join a company, they don't even look at LinkedIn. I mean, I know that's not their intention, but they're all so focused on the job, they just forget about networking, you know. As Ananya said, yes, now networking is not the top priority because you are already in your job, you're working very hard, doing well, whatever it is, but still you are somehow optimized, right? You still have to keep up with networking, right?
Precisely, yeah.
Again, that's a modern complexity, complexity of modern life that things can happen, right? Things can happen that you may be, for whatever reason, we may be looking for a job change. So nowadays, what the statistics show that people change job every 2-3 years, I guess. So particularly, I'm sure it's common in India, in US, and everywhere else, probably very similar. So yeah. I guess due to some visa restriction or something like that, people may stay a little longer. But I think there's nothing wrong to keep up with it. It's only can help you, when unexpected things happen, that quickly land in a meaningful job instead of restarting the whole process again. So,
True, very true.
yeah, so Sid, your question is wonderful. I think you're on the right path. You have to just optimize and do the kind of. I mean, there is no perfection. I mean, don't get too carried away by perfection. So you can. It's all kind of knobs, turning knobs. You kind of turn as you kind of as logically as possible, but the remaining is kind of gut feeling.
That's very well put. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Got the idea. Thank you.
So.
Okay, does anybody else has any questions? Remember, even if you cannot think of questions, it's okay. Just connect with me on LinkedIn and you can kind of like ask me any questions you want. And also, don't forget the feedback form so that I can help create the kind of content that you want to be answered in one way or other. So I'll create very short videos, 5 or 6 minutes, so that it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it actually helps you in various different ways. So don't forget to subscribe and just any other questions?
I'll consume a few more minutes since there are so many people here. I'll tell you a story. We have been running a CS outreach program from 2013 or so. We kind of we do summer camps and all this, for 7+ years now. So along the way, there is one student came in, and that student was primarily teaching, I think, data structures, algorithms, that type of thing. And he was teaching several camps in summer. And then in the fall, the Microsoft came with usual job fair or whatever. So as soon as they saw that he was working for outreach, so unlike everybody else, not many people work for outreach, compared to, we have 500 students graduating from masters, there are only 50 or so work, and very few work on that type of camp. So that really caught some hiring manager's attention. And he was asking pretty much about that, and the student was so excited to talk about it. So you think about it, right? Best thing that can happen to you when you go to interview is derail the interviewer's line of questioning. Right?
Yeah.
So this guy goes off and talks about, of course, interviewer is also interested. Interviewing is a tough job for interviewer, right? So talks about what are all the things he did in CS outreach. So particularly it was related to algorithms and data structures and all that. I know he used to teach very animated way, very passionate. He's still in Microsoft, by the way. But I think that year he got the best offer, as far as I know. So being unique, being kind of really putting, differentiating from rest of the people. That's really a wonderful way, so.
Agreed. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, don't be afraid to do something new, so you don't need to go always in the beaten path, So with so many hackathons and this and that, there are so many things you can participate in, Others, any other questions? We're still waiting for your questions. And we do run so many events, it's always good to attend events, like Ananya mentioned, instead of cold request to network, it would be great, hey, I attended your talk. they immediately get attention. Once you
True,
say
yeah.
that, please connect, or here is a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Remember, I know a lot of computer science grad students tend to be a lot more comfortable talking to the computer instead of humans, but the real world requires you to talk to humans. So I used to be very shy. My students look at me and said, it's kind of hard to believe that. That's what my students say. But I used to be extremely shy, even as a master's student in UTD. So it took a long time to talk to people, so. Um, but now the world is expecting you to talk right away, when you join companies and all that. So, okay, let's see, there's some new message. There you go. You see the message, Ananya?
No. Is it on the comment chat?
Chat message. What would you suggest to grads planning to switch career paths? That's the question.
That's a very good question.
What would you suggest to grads planning to switch career paths?
If you have done masters and you want to do something like MBA, if that is one of the options that you have, then what do you mean? What do you suggest in terms of strategy?
Career paths, I would
Yeah.
assume it's a changing area or something. Okay, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Sachi. Explain, please.
Yes, about the strategies, like how to plan it out before switching it. Like, there are bits of risk and all this involved. So, what would you suggest regarding it?
Regarding switching careers, if you are done undergrad and you're, for example, I did in mathematics and then I switched to computer science for grad. So in that case, the most important things that I did during my undergrad was explore computer science and make sure that that is something that I'm comfortable doing. Because sometimes what happens is we try and do something that everybody else is doing just for the heck of it. But that, I believe, is a tremendously bad idea. So be 100% sure by looking at internships, maybe try and work with professors who work in the kind of areas that you want to work in. Try and, get those electives into your resume. When you do these kind of courses and you interact with people, professors who work in those areas, and also do internships, competitions, etc., you get a feel of whether you are comfortable doing, switching careers or switching, onto a different path. And definitely, that being said, everything does hold risk. For example, if you're a mechanical engineering student and you're trying to switch to computer science, one great fear that you would have is, if I go to computer science, will I get good job? But the most important question that you should ask yourself instead of this is, if you become, very, very well, if you do something that you're doing extremely well, then why will you not get a good job? In fact, if you become a great problem solver, if you find your niche and become an expert on it, then nobody can stop you from succeeding, no matter the kind of career change that you're going through. So it's all about making a concrete plan, making 100% sure that this move is something that feels natural, that feels the right fit for you, and only then taking that step towards it. Because at this stage, we have the ability to switch careers, to do crazy stuff with our careers, because we have that risk taking ability that might temper down a little bit, in our 40s, 50s, etc. So definitely take the risk, but make sure that you do not regret it later, by analyzing, by planning, by looking at all the components involved, including the money aspect, because it's a huge thing that everybody wants to see, the kind of tuition, etc. And that is why I mentioned the kind of scholarships, fellowships, etc., again and again. Explore everything around you before making a decision. Does that answer your question, Sanchi?
Yes, totally agreed. Thank you.
No
And thank you
problem.
for the talk. The talk was amazing.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you.
Ananya, do you see my meeting chat?
I can try refresh.
There is one more question. Do you see that, or you want me to read it? Ananya?
Yeah.
Okay.
I refreshed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Do you see the chat messages?
No, I don't see any chat messages.
Okay, that's one more question. Can you tell more about your thesis? How do you contact professors and pitch ideas? I have some answers, but I want you to answer first. Can you tell more about your thesis? How would you contact professors and pitch ideas?
Okay, sure. So what I did when I wanted to do my thesis was I looked at the kind of professors that work in similar areas. So you go into your department's website and you try and see basic areas. For example, if you're interested in natural language processing, right? So you look at professors like Dr. Oyang, Dr. Harveji, etc., who work consistently in those areas, and you try and see if you can, ping them a mail and say, Ki, this is something that you want to do a thesis or a project under them, and see what they respond. Mostly what professors want is, at least if you have done a different project under them, or if you have published a paper in similar areas, or maybe you have done a course under them, that gives them an idea of how capable you are. So try engaging with them when you're doing that project, you're doing that course, etc. And then if you have a unique idea, definitely shoot them a mail, talk to them, and get, like, go to their chamber in their office hours, etc., if they do allow it, and talk to them and tell them, hey prof, this is the idea that I'm thinking about, what are your thoughts on it? So if they do like the idea, if they do like you as a student, then they'll definitely, because in UTD professors are amazing, so they're very straightforward, and they'll immediately say, okay, fine, this sounds like a good idea, let's get started. So that is something that I did. So always be on the lookout. But there was almost always, there are also mails about professors who are looking for different students, whether it's a PhD or a thesis student. So if you also look at a mail like that, you can definitely go back to the professor's website and try and see the kind of research that that professor has done, the kind of recent publications that they have published, because those give you the kind of idea about what kind of research, exact specific domains that they're working on currently. And if your idea, or if the kind of thing that you want to work in aligns with that, then I think the chances of a professor saying yes increases 1,000-fold. Does that answer your question?
So if I can add on to that, certainly I think Ananya covered everything. Certainly taking a course with a professor and doing well in that course, and during the class timings, and obviously we ask some good questions, not futuristic research question, but it's a meaningful, thoughtful questions. Then after that, if you go ask the professor, can you do thesis? Very hard for the professor to say no. Compared to that, you're joining as a new student, you send, oh, this is my resume, can I do research with you? That's almost like trying to connect through LinkedIn, hi, connect with me, type of thing. Of course, luckily not too many people want to do thesis. That's a good thing. There you don't have too much competition. I think that's a good thing. So if you really want to do thesis, that itself is a minority. Ananya, can we say that? Most people don't do thesis, right?
Yeah, most people don't, because, one, I have seen that a lot of people do not know that that is an option. And even if they do know, they are not sure whether thesis is something that's right for them. And yeah, so that is the main reason why people don't usually go for thesis. But it's an
thesis is
amazing
a mini
opportunity.
PhD. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to torture yourself? That type of thought
mentality is there.
Which is okay. Which is okay. I mean, people want to do just courses, and 12 courses, boom, you want to be out there in industry. That's fine. So, but if you do want to kind of slight, tingling sensation towards research, you want to kind of test it out whether you want to really enjoy the PhD experience. Certainly you can try thesis and decide decide whether you have something towards that. Of course, you don't need to do PhD also, because many times industry there are groups which focus on research. So for that, certainly MS thesis can be very helpful too. Even if you are against doing PhD thing, you can join research group in companies. So
no, I completely agree. That is part of the reason why I specifically added the information about how should you choose industry versus academia.
Yeah.
So because this is something that I have seen a lot of people struggle with. So
we had
totally.
We had one talk from Google Research last semester, and the coming semester also. In fact, his name is Ravi Kumar. He was some Google citation index, as he is #1 in the world, something like once. He happened to be my year mate too, from Guindy, Anna University, Guindy, India, Chennai. So that so I was able to bring him for a talk. So next semester also Google research, will bring somebody for a talk. So
no,
so
that's great.
certainly
That's
they are
amazing.
researchers. They are not really after really day-to-day type of applications, Google.
True.
They are more, little bit more futuristic application, little bit.
True.
Yeah. Okay, so Gugan, the thing is, I think it's just a comment, I think, for us probably, tg.com. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll close off.
Added to Ananya's informative informations, I found that for aspirants towards tutoring and teaching, uh, we need a few guidance to completely monitor our activities, like routinely getting into teaching experience, moving from job perspective to teaching. I find it very hard to make it successful, because when the invention of softwares and animative way of learning is actually giving more stress towards making it a successful one. So when I found your presentation, I was impressed that you made it in HTML way of I mean, it's web-based presenting, right? It was attractive. I need few help, like to make it a presentation like this.
Thank you so much.
That
That's
is
so sweet of you
first
to say.
request. And second thing is, like I found a website named teache.com, which actually giving few support on making a successful teaching kind of work. I just shared in the chat for a person who are aspiring towards tutoring or teaching, may take it forward. And this is the thing I want to just share to
Oh,
graduates.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Definitely
you.
connect with me on LinkedIn and I can help you as much as I can. And thank you so much for your comments and for your input. I'll definitely just also put it on the feedback form. So, I have a written format. So if there's any other content that you want me to publish or talk on, put that in as well. It's completely anonymous. Nobody will know, even me. So that's not a problem. All of you.
On a related note, big picture point of view, we can make a wonderful presentation material. We can even make wonderful videos. Process I've done it. You go to the web and there are wonderful videos on any topic almost. One thing that cannot be replaced is the interaction.
Agreed.
So there is nothing like going to live lecture, of course. Live meaning in person or online, doesn't matter. There is that's where I tell people, tell my instructors, the CSRT instructors and others also, even other professors also, that the value we bring it to session is the interaction, not just providing information. If it's information, there's thousands of videos out there already. I mean, who are doing great job in explaining things. A lot of people can go watch, videos and all that. But in a course or any workshop or wherever, the value of that session is in that instant response, instant feedback from the instructor, instant answers. That is something cannot be replicated that easily. With all the online core material, you're watching the recordings. That's something. It's always good to keep in mind. It's easier when somebody is there to help you. That's a lot more enjoyable way of learning material and all that, instead of just watching the recording and then sending messages and waiting for answers, right? So
yeah, I think it's a good idea. I'll also try
yeah.
to have more live sessions.
Yeah.
Thank you so
So
much for that.
I mean, certainly recordings and wonderful recordings out there. That's much better than nothing, of course. That's
No,
I
I
know
know what you
the
mean.
old days, 100 years ago or something. All we had was either zero or somebody's preaching, right? Gurukulam type of thing, right? Only Guru was there. So nothing else in between, right? So then we have this all these libraries and the books and everything kind of knowledge place. Now that became the importance of the people became a little bit less. Now of course there's libraries are replaced by internet. So much material, so much videos are there, but still that quick interactive learning is possible only when you with a live instructor. Who knows the material and can help you. Particularly I see that very much in our coding courses, for example. With a tutor or with an instructor, learning coding is very, very different from just learning from web examples, for example, right? So particularly when you're really learning something new, it's a limited time, so we already talked about that. So it's a lot more efficient that way.
No, I definitely agree. There are pros and cons to both approach, definitely, because sometimes what happens is not everybody can, match up in terms of time. So in that case, recorded things do help a lot. But I definitely see your point, because there is no, a substitute to live lectures and live sessions, because those give you, in-person engagement. That's at least, a miniature of that, and that is indispensable.
For example, our UTD point of view, we all sharing this recorded lectures, right? Where all the professors are required to provide recorded lecture. One students can think, what? I'm just going to listen to see the recordings and then be done with the course. So I tell them that you're not getting the full value of what you paid for. If you just, you get the full value by attending live and asking questions in the session. That's how you get the full value, So, okay, probably I'm going on tangent. So, yeah, you're all still guys here. If you're here, that means you should be asking questions. They're not here to. Maybe you are kind of treating us like a celebrities. You just want to listen to us. Or something. I didn't realize I'm that much celebrity.
No, I just think it's very kind of everyone to keep on, holding on with us. Thank you so much for attending the talk. It was a good, amazing opportunity. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And everybody who took part in this channel, thank you so much for attending the talk. If you have any feedback, if there are any kind of videos that you like me to create, or any kind of questions that you want to ask me, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my channel, and I'll try to answer as many problems as possible.
So we will also put it on a YouTube and
yes, sir. I'll put it on my YouTube and I'll share the screen. Yes, sir. I will
so Ananya, there's a good chance you may not be able to do anything. So I will download it and put it in the YouTube. Since you're a guest, it may not allow you to get access. Maybe. Okay, but
that might be possible. Yeah. So if you get it, then let me. If you can just share it with me on Google Drive, then I'll put it on and I'll share everywhere. No problem.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you so much. For everybody in India and Asian subcontinent, have a wonderful day. For everybody in the United States, have a very good night.
Okay, so I am kind of like a student. Only now I am going for dinner. So, okay. See, Ananya's talk was so interesting. I didn't go for dinner. Good night,
That's
everybody.
kind of you. Okay, good night. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
And good day. Thank you.